Good Friday morning of the 13th week. And today is interesting. It's the calling of St. Matthew himself. Okay? This is neat. I like to reflect. He said, as Jesus passed by, again, when you see passing by, that's always a reference to Passover. It's a moment of divine intervention. It's a key divine moment. So that word is not thrown around. That word is a precise word. So when Jesus passes by, something of magnitude is going to occur, usually in the life of a person, okay? He saw a man named Matthew sitting at the customs post. So you know Matthew's a bad guy. He's working for the Romans. So it's going to be a conversional moment, okay? He's a bad guy. By those standards, he is a very bad guy, okay? Yeah. He said to him, follow me. That's all he says to Matthew, follow me. And he got up and he followed him. Okay? He got up and he followed him. See? He got up and he followed him. While he was at table in his house, many tax collectors and sinners came and sat with Jesus and his disciples. This is a very crucial passerby moment. This is Passover. This is Passover. The Old Testament Passover. Crucial. See? The Pharisees saw this and said to his disciples, why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? He heard him say this, and he said, those who are well don't need a physician, but sick people do. Go and learn the meaning of the words. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. I didn't come to call the righteous, but sinners. See? So Matthew is definitely a public sinner, and so are the guys he's eating with. The Pharisees not wrong about that. These guys sold out to the Romans. They're the bad guys. In that society, they're the bad guys. See? And Christ calls them. But what did they do? They followed him. They followed him. That's the calling. They're not innocent. They are who they are in the life of the church because they were called, not because they were innocent. They were anything but. The church is not built on innocence, on sweetness, but on the call of Christ and the mode of redemption that he calls us to. I mean that too. It's not that somebody's worthier than somebody else to be called. Christ makes you worthy by his call. Matthew is a condemned man until Christ passes by and calls him, and he hears it and he follows. He hears the word of the redeeming Christ. It's inchoate, but he's called. He follows the calling. I think of all vocation. What do you think the word vocation means? It means to be called. I think of that a great deal. I told you this story many, many times. I know I have in these videos, whatever the hell they call. When my niece many years ago, 40 years ago, asked me why I became a priest, I said, I felt called, Michelle. I felt called. It's not what I wanted. Certainly not my interest, and I wasn't encouraged as such by my family at all. At all. My father was really anti-clerical. He didn't have any great love. Those Tuscans were not lovers of the priesthood, believe me. They saw it as a racket. Bad racket, you know. My mother was pious and religious, but she certainly didn't encourage it. When I told my Aunt Anita, and she told my mother that I wanted to be a priest, my mother said, you're nuts. He's nuts. You know, I felt called. I didn't want to get called. I felt called. I wanted the same thing everybody else wanted. I wanted a girlfriend, okay? Italians are born with 15 years experience. I didn't know that till Father Nicholas Zitz said that he was a Passionist. He died a bunch of years ago, but Nick was a great preacher. And he said that one time in a retreat. He said, hey, Father Vitale, yeah, he's Italian. I said, don't worry about him. He said, newly ordained, but he says 15. The Italians are born with 15 years experience. So think of that. I just wanted a girlfriend. See? I didn't want anything. I went to Mass all the time, but that doesn't, daily. I didn't feel that. I guess, no, I started to go daily to Mass after I felt his calling. Somebody said it to me one time. I told you that story down in day camp. I was only 13 years old. He said to me, you ought to be a priest. What? When you shut up? Let's go talk to somebody else. I couldn't shake it. Did my best to get rid of it. I felt called. I don't know. I didn't know where it was going to take me or anything. I certainly didn't want any part of religious life. What are you kidding me? I didn't want to give up my shotgun and my surf casting rod. What are you kidding me? That's a true story. I don't want to give anything up. And then I made a retreat because my brother talked me into it. Can you imagine? And I saw I was a Passionist. And then I felt called to the Passionist way of life, the Passionist community. Felt called. I wanted no part of religious life. I figured bad enough, I got to go into priesthood. Jesus, do I have to go into religious life too? Then I saw these men. I was called by the power of their beauty, their heroic vocation. It was like, shit, you're in for a dime, you're in for a dollar. You might as well make this take. That I saw, and I found that powerfully attractive. I've never found the priesthood attractive, but I found it. I saw religious life and the Passionist way of life and its deep spirituality. That I found compelling. Even though I've lived it much differently than I thought I was going to live it. The Passionist vocation is the defining vocation in my life. It led to the priesthood, and I functioned daily as a priest and all the rest. But if you ask me who and what are you, I'm a Passionist. I'm a Passionist who happens to also be a priest. I was called to both elements of that vocation. But in my heart of hearts, I identify with the Passionist, not with the priesthood. That's the function I perform in the light of the church to which I was called. It's the service I render. But the reality is, my identity is as a Passionist, who happens to also be a college professor. But I am a Passionist. That's why at graduation I always wear my habit. Why? Because this is who I am. I don't wear the cap and gown. I wear the Passionist habit. Father Biondi, the former president, his aunt is a Passionist nun. He's the one, because I got kicked out of line one, but he said to me, that's not an academic gown. So I told Father Biondi, he said, and from that time on, yes, you can wear the habit. I do, because this is who and what I am, you see. That's the truth. I was called to that. It was resisted, but I didn't resist the call when I saw the Passion. I resisted the priesthood. That one I fought off. I kind of was not hoping for anything, just put it off as long as I could. That's the truth, but not the Passionist. Once I saw that, that's what I wanted. I felt powerfully called the Passionist way of life, to be a Passionist. And it evolved in its own manner, I have to say. I don't know if St. Matthew ever dreamed he was going to do the stuff he was going to do, or die the way he was going to die. It's a vocation that you live out. The calling doesn't give you a blueprint, it's simply a call. And then the great story of life goes from there. If you'd have told me in 1959, when I entered the outfit, that I would live a kind of Passionist life that I have lived the last 30 years. Here, 33 years, here is living by myself. Wouldn't have dreamt it, wouldn't have believed it, okay? But that's how things evolve, and with the blessings of the order. It's not despite the order, it's because of the order. I owe everything to the order. I mean that sincerely. Next to my family, I owe the order everything. That calling drew me into a world beyond my wildest imagination with its blessings. I have to say, if for nothing else, I would not have the life I have had and the successes I have had and the ministry I've had without the Passionists. I am a Passionist. I was called to it, and I'm eternally grateful. I am grateful, even though I wince sometimes when I think of St. Paul at the cross, who founded the order, thinking, Paulie, I'm doing the best I can. You did it your way, I'm doing it mine. But you know what I mean? I think, so if I had to face St. Paul at the cross, I think, because he very much different from my way of life, etc. He said, well, did you live the Passionist life? I think I was saying to him, Paulie, I did it my way, you did it yours. We were both called. We were called to be Passionists, each in our own way. Vocations are unique. When Christ called Matthew, he didn't say, hey guys. He said, Matt, come on. See, come on. See? It's neat, isn't it?